St. Louis had been waiting. The anticipation simmered for weeks, building through word of mouth, social media whispers, and local radio countdowns. When Kendrick Lamar and SZA rolled into Missouri on the Grand National Tour, the city wasn't just ready, it was ravenous. Every inch of the sold-out venue in St. Louis pulsed with electric hunger. Fans spilled into the night air, their voices loud and layered with excitement, decked out in GNX hoodies, SOS Deluxe tees, and handmade signs held high above heads. The mood was more than just concert anticipation. It was something sacred, something like ceremony. Welcome to celebrity rap life, where the red carpets never roll up and the spotlight never fades. The rewards are legendary. Because in celebrity rap life, every downfall can become a comeback, and every headline tells a deeper story. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next. As the lights dropped and the opening synths of "All Right" rolled across the crowd like a premonition, the place went unhinged. There was no slow build. Kendrick rose from a platform beneath the stage like a prophet from the underworld. A single spotlight framed him in silhouette, back straight, fists clenched, lips pressed tight. For a few long seconds, he said nothing. Then he launched into the verse with a fury that felt both practiced and painfully spontaneous. The crowd became his choir, not just echoing his lines but living them, screaming, "We gon' be all right," as if it were the city's personal redemption song. The bass shook the floor. Kendrick's cadence sharpened with every word. And St. Louis, black, brown, white, young, old, screamed back in unity. No one sat. No one scrolled their phones. There was too much to feel. This wasn't the sanitized safety of a studio recording. This was raw, defiant, St. Louis gospel. Minutes later, the transition into Mad City hit like a freight train. The beat flipped, the tempo kicked up, and the crowd transformed again. This was the track that raised a generation, aggressive, complex, relentless, and Kendrick delivered it like he still lived inside the verses. The way he stomped across the stage during the "Yawk, Yawk, Yawk" intro stirred an urgency in the pit. The Missouri crowd shouted bar for bar, fists bouncing, shoulders moving as if possessed. From the sirens to the skits, the performance wasn't just nostalgic, it was terrifyingly alive. The city's rough edges met Kendrick's narratives head-on, and the fusion sparked something unforgettable. Kendrick didn't give the crowd much room to breathe, and they didn't want him to. What came next was a gift for fans who'd been following this tour from its unpredictable start, a live debut in Missouri of whacked-out Murals. It was surreal. The instrumental came in subtly, dreamlike, jazz-flecked, and for a moment, the room went still, as if everyone was trying to figure out what was coming. Then Kendrick began, slow and deliberate, painting lyrical mosaics of identity, decay, and survival. St. Louis fell silent, not out of disinterest, but out of reverence. The performance was less explosive and more haunting. Kendrick's delivery was inward, his gaze low, his voice cracking in places like old vinyl. The track didn't demand applause, it deserved contemplation. He turned the arena into a confessional, then exited the stage in near darkness. But this wasn't a solo sermon. Just when the crowd thought the pace might cool, a spotlight shone stage left and revealed SZA in a metallic violet ensemble, shimmering like moonlight on the Mississippi. The crowd screamed in recognition as she and Kendrick launched into 30 for 30, a track that had only recently found its way into their joint setlists. Their chemistry was undeniable, not just musical, but spiritual. Kendrick delivered his verses with sharpened patience, while SZA floated through the chorus like she was casting spells. Each line landed with weight, each harmony laced with unspoken backstory. It wasn't just a duet, it was dialogue, full of tension and mutual respect. The vibe shifted again as Kendrick returned for one of the night's most iconic throwbacks, Poetic Justice. The moment that piano loop slid in, phones lifted instinctively, but the majority of the crowd just sang along, pulled by the groove. Kendrick swayed through the first verse with calm precision, letting the nostalgia of the track breathe in the Missouri air. Fans mouthed every line, every syllable, many with their hands around each other's shoulders. It was sensual, it was smooth, and it was St. Louis in a moment of pure joy. When the chorus hit, 1,000 voices harmonized on the word "justice," as if the entire arena were trying to rewrite the night into memory. Then came Reincarnated, a track that hadn't been officially released but had made waves across fan forums, leaks, and freestyle footage. This was the underground gem they hoped he'd perform, and when he did, it tore through the venue like a storm front. The lyrics wrestled with duality, death, rebirth, the Kendrick Lamar special. He paced the stage like a man possessed, every bar stacked with references both spiritual and coded. Missouri bore witness to a performance that felt less like rap and more like prophecy. The crowd didn't chant this one, they listened, absorbing each syllable like scripture. By the time he ended the final verse with a cold stare and an open mic drop, a collective shiver passed through the audience. If that wasn't enough, the next guest moment tore the roof clean off. The stage dimmed. A heartbeat pulse began to pound through the speakers. Then came the strings. And then the bass. Kendrick appeared once more, this time center stage, joined by SZA, now dressed in stark black and silver. Luther. The moment everyone in St. Louis had secretly prayed for. The track's aching vulnerability paired with its quiet defiance made for one of the most moving moments of the night. Kendrick's verses were reflective, heavy, stitched with grief and glory. SZA's vocals soared, trembling with strength. They didn't just perform it, they bled it. Faces in the crowd lit up with phones, but many lowered them just as quickly, choosing instead to live in it. When the last note fell, the silence lingered before thunderous applause rolled through the stands. And yet Kendrick had one more bullet in the chamber. The arena dimmed completely. Red lights bathed the stage in a violent haze. Sirens sounded again, but this time, the crowd already knew what was coming. A beat dropped that rattled ribs and bones alike. Not like us. This wasn't just a song, it had become the anthem of the tour, a flamethrower of a diss that turned every venue into a battlefield. In St. Louis, it hit with a vengeance. Kendrick emerged in a black tactical jacket, eyes cold, stance firm. The crowd exploded as he spat each bar with venom. Every lyric felt like a punch, and every punch drew screams. The energy turned primal. Fans from every corner of Missouri screamed the hook like they were on the front lines of a cultural war. Kendrick leaned into the performance, sharp gestures, controlled rage, swagger in every syllable. By the time the final chorus rang out, the venue wasn't just vibrating, it was quaking. Kendrick paced the stage, breathing heavily, looking out over a crowd that had given him everything they had. He raised his fist, and without saying a word, disappeared into smoke. The lights didn't come on for another full minute. Some people were still frozen in place, sweat slick and stunned. Others were already crying. The Grand National Tour wasn't just a concert. In St. Louis, it became a communal cleansing. Kendrick Lamar had delivered a performance that straddled eras, emotions, and extremes. He'd brought history, therapy, confrontation, and celebration, all in one seamless motion. And with SZA beside him, the emotional palette only expanded. Together, they didn't just perform music. They remade it in front of our eyes. Backstage, rumors swirled of surprise merch drops and upcoming releases. But no one in St. Louis needed anything else. They got the memory they came for. And maybe, in a city that's often overlooked on major tours, that made it all the more special. Kendrick didn't water it down. He brought the full storm. And the city, in turn, rained love back down on him. This story is far from over, and the truth is still unfolding. I want to hear what you think. Drop your take in the comments. And if you don't want to miss the next twist, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a second of what's coming next.